Hello, Opening Pathways viewers. It's Tom Lenoble, and it's always great to be with you. Today, I have a great guest for you today, and it's Tanuj Sharma, who is the co-founder and CEO of Kana Health. And I'm anxious for you to learn all about Kana Health and Tanuj and some questions that I have for him. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tom. Really appreciate it. It is such a pleasure and an honor to be on your show. I've read a lot about you, the kind of work you have done, the kind of books you have written, and especially your resilience leadership. Looking forward to this conversation and exchanging thoughts.
Thank you so much. Let's jump right in. I want to start right with Kana Health and, share a little bit about it, but I want to know what sparked your idea to step onto this path.
Absolutely, Tom. This was, I would say, right after COVID. Me and my co-founder, we have known each other for 20 plus years. We were both engineers on the same team, and call it mid-crisis, midlife crisis. But we were looking for creating something which makes real-world impact. And right after COVID, as you can imagine, mental health was one of the biggest crises, which emerged. And it was declared by U.S. Surgeon General as well that mental health as an epidemic will be probably even bigger than COVID-19 was. And we saw a lot of people, close by in our family and in our close circle struggling with good mental health. And that is why we thought if we don't put together, our brains and 2 decades of technology industry experience, it'll be a shame. We want to make a real world impact. We want to make impact in how mental health care is rendered and delivered and handled today. And this startup is all about that.
I love it, and it's very timely as the Zoomers, Gen Z are demanding we take care of mental health. I believe these new generations are what creates our societal shifts. So I love what you're doing. Tell me this. What was the moment that you knew and said to yourself, this is my path?
Yeah, the first time we spoke to an industry expert that this is what we are thinking of building, a two-sided platform which provides not only the support to the care seeker, but also to the care providers. We spoke to one, we spoke to second, we spoke to a lot of people who are actually in care providing business in mental health industry, and they absolutely loved the idea. And till that point, it was just our intuition and gut feel that we are onto something. But when we spoke to those industry experts and people who are actually into the healthcare business, they said, a lot of startups have done a lot of cool things, but what you are talking about is making an impact for both care seeker and care providers. And that was our basically the moment we felt very confident. And that is when both me and my co-founder took upon this full time. We left our corporate careers and started on this path. And I would say it's about 3 years, and we couldn't be any more proud. We dance to work every single morning. We love what we are doing. We love what we are building. We especially love those stories when we hear from those patients and clients and students and young adults in terms of how they use our platform and how it helped them navigate the overall, well-being journey and care journey. And when we hear it from care providers that, you guys were watching my patients when I was sleeping and when I really needed that rest. And, our platform works 24/7. And when we hear those real world, real client impact stories, it just gives us, so much energy and so much motivation to continue on this path.
How have you fundamentally changed since you started Kana Health?
Oh, that's a tough and a deep question. Yes, I would say I have changed as a person. Not only I have shaped my startup has shaped me as well. It has shaped my co-founder as well. It has shaped the way we think. It has shaped the way we find meaning in our work. It has shaped, how we think of strategy, of go-to-market or business strategies. It is always impact first and profits later. It is always doing the right thing first and product vision later. It is always making the life of the users easier first rather than just getting lost in the love of technology and, building the most cool and shiny object possible. So it has completely changed us as person, It has changed the way we used to think of business and go-to-market strategies and product development and technology roadmaps and the blueprints. Now we go deep into what is the problem on the streets and the ground level, and we build from there rather than, just building a piece of code deck.
Love this. So tell me this. I know it's true for myself, and I hear it from others that who we are today typically was influenced by someone in our life when we were really little or young anyway. Who was that for you?
I would say that goes back to my university days, at Stanford. I was going through an executive management program. And, after so many years of experience and working in the industry, I sat in those classrooms and I heard those kids talk about such cool, you know, um, changing the way normal things have been operated in the past, changing the way, completely reimagining the way things have been, designed or thought of. And, that really left a lasting impression in my mind that, if these kids who just stayed out of school come to this, university and think and reimagine so many concepts, with me and my industry experience, I can probably do even better. And I would say that was 2018 is when I started thinking seriously about entrepreneurship,
Wow.
and that we have to build to make this world a better place. That was the motivation. And this is formally my second startup, but my first startup was actually creating connected communities. We made an attempt with my, co-founders in 2018, but we had to shut that idea down because COVID-19 came and, we did not know how to kind of get this off the ground from operations perspective. So, I would say this goes back to my days at Stanford.
Wonderful. We talk so much about BC and AC before COVID and after COVID, and there were some horrific things about it as well as many gifts. You and I probably wouldn't even be talking to each other today in this box if it wasn't for COVID and some of the things that happened. And I'm going to trust that even all of the horrible stuff that will be balanced out somehow by the understanding of what we get from it. And certainly I'm seeing in my business and at the Academy of Coaching Excellence of where people are looking to actually reacquaint themselves in person and not give this up, but also balance it out with how do we be with each other again? How are we present with each other? So
Yeah.
tell me this, what personal values have guided you from the start, and which one has deepened over time?
I would say, do the right thing is probably the deepest value which we started with and stayed with us. And building the right features, building the right design, building the right experience, along with doing the right thing for our users. I think the combination of those two, has deepened over time as we go through the journey of building our platform, building new features, building new, product modules, doing the right design, learning from customer issues, learning from, the ground level problems, learning from, what are the struggles and challenges on the street level and ground level and building from there. And then, building it right, never taking shortcuts, whether it's ethical design or whether it's privacy or whether it's data privacy or whether it's making sure that the user get the right value out of it, and those are the two core principles, I would say which has deepened over time,
Hmm.
and we learn a lot, as we go through the journey of product design and build because we talk to a lot of different people like hospital CEOs and therapists who are working on the ground level and then nonprofit organization, crisis counselor. Everybody is dealing with different set of issues and doing the right thing, building the product the right way, making sure that you're providing the right recommendation. And sometimes you even have to hold yourself back because making too much, in terms of the product design and the recommendation and the content shared, you have to hold yourself back in terms of, is this the right design? Is this the right ethical boundary? Is this the right, I would say, recommendations and information to present in front of somebody who could be on the edge, with their condition or with their disorder.
Tell me about a recent risky decision that paid off and what gave you the courage to act.
Yeah, I would say the most recent risky decision was, we were focused on working with primarily the nonprofit organizations and, I would say licensed clinical social workers and, crisis counselors. And the step we have taken, I would say, in last 60 days or so, is we are working with large enterprise organizations. And I know there is a long waterfall and stepped approach between going from smaller organizations, which are not even medium-sized businesses, but really small businesses, and talking to hospitals and healthcare networks and large enterprise organizations. There is a phased approach in between, and we have taken a I would say straight away shot at working with large enterprise organizations because we believe our technology, if provided at larger scale, would really change the game the way healthcare is provided across multiple states, across at a country level scale. Because the kind of impact we can make in quality of care, the kind of impact we can make in efficiency of care providers, the accuracy of care, and the overall efficacy, it would really drive multiple fold a significant outcome at larger scale. So that is a shot we have taken, and so far so good. It has paid dividends.
I'm interested in how your relationship with risk has changed as Kana Health has grown and your responsibility has grown. Has your relationship with risk had any changes?
Yes, I would say my relationship with risk, and not just risk, my relationship with money and overall financial status has also changed, because that used to matter a lot, before I did this startup. And like you said, right? I mean, how has this organization or this startup has changed me as a person, right? I mean, it goes back to that. My perception of risk, my perception of financial status, my perception of how to make money, my perception of how much money is enough, all of that has changed. And it is primarily driven from the impact. It is primarily driven from whether we are building something which would really change the lives of the care seekers and the care providers. And the amount of risk we have taken is crazy. I mean, if I had to dial my life back three and a half years, I would not have imagined the amount of risk I have taken, the amount of financial risk I have taken, and the amount of financial exposure. And we used to think that, for our monthly and quarterly and yearly expenses, we need that much. All of those equations and calculations and mathematical models have changed. We have learned how little you really need to be happy. And, how much money do you really need to keep your organization going, to keep your house running, to keep your monthly expenses and all of that, right? So 3 years back, the mathematical model which I created in a simple spreadsheet, all of those assumptions went wrong. But not that I'm complaining. I am happy where we are today in terms of our organization and in terms of our overall family status. And that is how the relationship with risk and money and overall social status, all of that has completely changed.
Interesting. I love this. What's something about leadership that no one prepared you for?
Yeah, that was a tough lesson, which nobody can really prepare you for, and that only entrepreneurship can teach you, and it sometimes even humbles you. That how much do you really know? You thought you knew, you thought you'll bring to the table, and when you actually, try to get your organization off the ground, it humbles you in terms of, did you really know your technology, domain deep down? Did you really know your sales domain deep down? Did you really know your go-to-market domain deep down? And, how much of that knowledge you can rely on and pull on to really create the roadmap and the blueprint this startup should really consume and work on. And it teaches you, it humbles you, it strips you down. And, every day you have to come back to the desk, willing to put out the best effort you can with all your skills, with all your experience, with all of your life lessons and professional life, which has taught you and built you the person you are. And I would say, if at all, I'm much more humble, much more learned, and I would say much more gritty and persevered
Mm.
person, in last 3 years, because that is what the startup does to you. I mean, you'll take 100 shots and 99 of them would say no to you. One would say maybe, and probably 6 months later, somebody would say a yes.
Yes, yes. The wisdom we gain in the startup is
Yeah,
huge. Yes.
absolutely.
Tell me this. Um, where have you recognized fear as information versus a stop sign?
Hmm. I would say the fear in information is primarily, when we look at our growth trajectories or customer acquisition or retention metrics or churn rate or conversion rate or demo to sign up rate, right? I mean, all of those dashboards, are basically, uh, gives us those red alerts and amber alerts and green alerts in terms of risk through information. But the biggest risk is beyond those dashboards and metrics and stuff, right? When you actually talk to your customers and you ask them that, did this really solve the problem you were looking to solve for using our platform? And when you hear that feedback and when you hear that story, that is where, some of those real risk signals start to appear in my brain. That, I mean, those dashboards are fine, but what you can learn from a customer feedback or what you can learn from an industry expert you would talk to, that this is what you should do, and this is where you stand today, and this is what your platform looks like. Those are probably the bigger the risk signals and alerts and flags which I deal with, and those are the things which keeps me up in the night, to be honest with you.
Mm. Hmm. So I'm interested, how do you how do you personally move through burnout or deep uncertainty that we have at times in these startup businesses that are so dynamic and moving so fast? How is your what is your strategy? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I had to devise a strategy. And before this startup, you may think that my conversation is either before COVID, after COVID, or before this startup and after this startup. But that is how life is. I mean, that is how much my startup has changed me as a person, right? So before this, I used to work out for my physical appearance. But after I started on this path of a startup, I started working on my mental resilience and my
Mm.
inner peace as well. And when you focus on that, when you take your walks, when you listen to the music, when you pull those weights, when you're in the gym, when you're doing your swimming laps, you focus differently in terms of how your brain thinks, how you need to calm yourself down, how you need to disconnect for a little bit so that you can show up your desk tomorrow morning with the same amount of rigor and energy. So I would say what really changed was my discipline and the way I used to work out. You have to be very mindful that this workout is for me to, develop my resilience, to develop my inner peace, to, shoo away all of those fears which appear almost on an hourly basis when you're building and scaling up your business. And I would say that is what really gave me the strength to carry on, to solve for my burnout, to solve for, how do I find motivation 7 days a week? Because you literally work 7 days a week,
You
being a
must.
startup owner.
Yeah, you must.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, how can you show up 7 days a week? You have to build that discipline of work and also the discipline of working out and the discipline of mindfulness.
Yes, I agree. A lot of wisdom in that. I think that we realize if we didn't think before there was a mind-body connection, when
Yeah.
we go through some of these experiences, we realize how true it is. I know that I have an avid Pilates practice I've been doing for years, and I walk every day. And um, without them, my productivity, my satisfaction, my enjoyment all shift dramatically. And I know people see me when I walk through the places that I walk, and I don't use music because I really want to be in touch with what I'm seeing and feeling, smelling, or whatever it may be. And I don't tell it too often, but I have a tree I talk to. And I was walking by flowers the other day because we have our rain here in California, so it begins the cycle. And I've been walking in this area long enough that it's like they're my friends are back, and I'm having a conversation with them, realizing as people are walking by me, they're wondering what's going on with this dude. Let's move to the other side of the road because he's talking to the flowers. But hey, works for me, right?
Yeah.
It works for me, and it comes back and definitely is part of renewal, I think. So tell me this. What impact are you most proud of? Not professionally, not publicly, but personally.
Yeah, the impact I'm proud of is, the kind of simplification and the kind of value we can deliver to those people who are actually using our platform. And the intent of getting started with Kana, which is a behavioral health and mental health AI startup, was to make a small impact in the way mental health care is delivered. And I know it is a professional satisfaction as well as a personal satisfaction because this journey would not have been complete or fulfilling if we really did not see the impact we can create or the impact we can measurably deliver. And I would say that is probably the satisfaction number one. And satisfaction number two is, I would say personally, is the way we have been able to create something from the start. It's almost like giving birth to a baby. And you think of the blueprint, you think of the construction roadmap, you think of the launch roadmap, you think of the scaling. I would say, it has made me a much more resilient as well as much more, a deep thinking person because I have dealt with so many deep problems and, solved those deep problems that my problem solving patterns, my problem solving thought process that itself has evolved. And, now I look for those things which used to be elusive earlier. I'm looking for signs in customer stories. I'm looking for signs in the testimonials. I'm looking for signs in how somebody used the platform. So it has changed my problem solving thought process itself, which I would say is probably the biggest personal achievement and
Mhm.
satisfaction out of that.
Love that. Tell me this, have you ever said no to growth because it wasn't aligned?
Yes, we have. We have made a lot of those hard decisions in terms of, what AI can do in mental health care because the possibilities are endless. And like I said in the beginning of the conversation, that doing the right thing and building it the right way for our users is our number one value, is our principle we stand by, paramount. And doing the right thing, building it the right way, because AI can go in any direction and we have to control it. And we made a lot of those decisions in making sure that there is a human in loop. We manually and purposefully inserted human approvals before anything moved forward in our platform in terms of a recommendation or in terms of a symptom analysis or in terms of a treatment technique recommendation. We inserted human approvals. So we made those hard choices. Otherwise, just for the sake of building cool tech, we could have take it all the way for understanding a problem and providing a solution, but we created those manual toll gates. So that was I would say a hard decision we took, and it is also a price to pay in terms of how you position yourself out there in a competitive landscape, because there are a lot of organizations out there who are making tall and bold promises that we can do this and this and this, and we still kind of hold our position very responsibly and very ethical.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Tanu, how do you balance being a leader with being a learner?
I would say it goes hand in hand, right? I mean, like I said, after I started on this path, I realized that how little I know, and once you accept that, once you understand and acknowledge that deep down inside, then comes the learning part, because you have to learn every day on the job to move things. And being the founder and the CEO of our startup, I deal with a lot of different problems. Sometimes it's those legal issues, and sometimes it's those payroll issues, and sometimes it's those go-to-market issues, and financial issues, and fundraising issues, and booking and invoicing issues, and you have to learn everything on the fly, because yes, you do have support system, but you still need to understand the problem yourself so that you can make those decisions. And that is what in more cases than not, it humbles you. And after it humbles you, then you put your head down and you start learning. Okay, I need to figure this out to solve this problem. So it basically, I would say, it goes hand in hand. And you will never be a good leader if you're not humble enough to acknowledge and learn and put your head down
Yeah.
and just get through the grind.
Yeah, I'm with you. They go hand in hand. I often say on my last breath, I'll say, just a moment, I've got questions. Um, Tell me this. What's the boldest vision that's coming up for Kana Health?
The Borders vision, I would say, is the way we would completely personalize mental health care, behavioral health care for those people who are not only seeking care, but also, just looking for general well-being in terms of their overall behavioral health, right? Because we do not call behavioral health as a disorder. It's not even a condition. It's well-being, and everybody should focus on it. Whether you have a condition or you don't have a condition, the earlier you focus on it, the better off you'll be in terms of how to deal with it when the time comes. Because everybody will feel a certain way, under some sort of stress or some sort of anxiety or some sort of I would say emotional restlessness. And the earlier you start training your brain and your body and your overall life thought process, the better off you'll be. And our bold vision is to be part of that overall well-being journey, overall mental well-being journey for those people who are just looking to learn how to start on this path, or they're dealing with a condition and they need a little more help than just coaching. We want to be their co-pilot, so to say. As Kana is a co-pilot for mental well-being journey, we want to be their co-pilot in their well-being journey.
Wow. Tell me this. What does renewal look like for you besides the typical rest and time off? How do you renew?
Yeah, um, I would say renewal primarily is spending time with my family, spending time with my friends, watching movies. I would say working out. Uh, we are travelers, so we travel quite a bit. That's another form of rejuvenation for me. Seeing new cities, seeing new places.
Yes.
We travel as family to different countries as well. There are typically at least two trips which are planned every year. So that, in a nutshell, is different ways of renewal for us.
Yeah, I love traveling and doing a little of the tourist stuff, but really just getting with people and eating their food and understanding their culture and what's going on. I haven't done as much of it except, of course, Maui, um, since COVID. So it's one of my top things this year. I've got New Zealand high on the list that's going to come up this year. And I just love it and I really miss it. So you just inspired me to make sure I get that done. So tell me this. What does legacy mean to you at this stage of your life?
It's all about legacy, Tom, to be honest with you, right? I mean, like I said, the reason we we could have done any startup, but we chose this to really, leave an impact, create an impact, and leave a legacy behind that, people should remember us, that, there came a technology company which changed the way mental health care was done and delivered, which changed the way people thought about their overall mental well-being. They changed the way the personalization of mental health care was not even possible before that. They changed the way a therapist or a counselor or a psychiatrist used to work. That's the sort of legacy we want to leave behind.
Mm.
And hopefully in 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, people will remember us for that.
Yeah, love this. Um, I'm curious if a much younger Tanu was listening to this podcast, what would you tell him?
Yeah, the much younger version of myself would not believe, where I am today. And quite honestly, sometimes I think, if I dial back just 10 years or even 5 years back, the kind of journey I've had is unbelievable. I couldn't be any more proud of what I have done. And as a person, and as a professional, and as a a family man I am. And 10 years back, the younger version of myself would have been completely blown away. That younger version would not have seen this coming.
I love that. What's your biggest hope for the world?
The biggest hope for the world is, they choose kindness when, there is a tough choice to make.
Yeah,
Um, Kindness is such an important aspect of life, because everybody is going through something or the other. No matter how happy or successful or accomplished, they would look from the surface. So, if I were to ask people to change one thing about, their normal behavior, I would say just choose calmness whenever there is a tough choice to make, because you never know, what that would do in somebody else's life, how that would change somebody else's day, how that would change somebody's thought process, or even their motivation in life.
absolutely. We could use a little more kindness, and I'm a believer when we put out kindness, we get it in return.
Absolutely.
One final question for you today. If you were to leave our listeners with one invitation, what would it be?
I would say I would invite everybody to explore, well-being, and the holistic well-being, not just physical well-being. I would say mental well-being as well, because there comes a phase in life where everybody needs to think about it, and some would deal with it earlier, some would deal with later, but everybody will deal with it. So I would say I invite everybody to explore their own well-being, holistic well-being, um, and the sooner you do it, the better you think you made a good choice of learning the right methods, the learning the right techniques, the learning the right pathways of dealing with when life would throw something at you.
Yes, it's what resilience is about.
Yes,
I talk a lot about it. It's not just getting back up, it's how you grow from it. And to me, resilience is just like a muscle, like your bicep or tricep. The more we use it, the more it's there for us. In fact, it's your greatest currency. The stock market can crash. You can lose your title, your job, your partner, your health, your house, but no one can take your resilience away.
Absolutely. I mean, I do have a question for you because I did read, how much you have gone through in terms of your physical health and, how many illnesses you have fought back. So how did that change the meaning of resilience for you? Because you have bounced back so many times.
Tanya, people ask me a lot. I often say that through what I've experienced, I'm still here. And they'll say to me, well, why do you think you're still here? And I've had the best medical care. I've had access to the best treatment. My skin color gives me privilege. But there's been one thing underneath it all that's very true. I believed I could.
Mm.
And I think that to me, resilience today is many of the things we've talked about. How am I fully engaged in life? How do I take care of myself physically and mentally? I do something, I'm getting ready to do it for the fifth year where I go for a battery of tests, a VO2 max, the MRI. I do all of these different things. And over the 5 years, I'm going to be 72 this year, and my metabolic age is 64. And
Wow.
my goal is to continue to do that because some of the things you spoke about today, which I think are so important, is that we all have a propensity for something. Very few of us are walking around, just look around, that aren't going to have some sort of illness, whether it be physical or mental. And I happen to believe the sooner we find that out, or the sooner we are aware of the possibility, the more opportunity we have to either minimize it or eliminate it, or certainly a way to manage it, especially in today's world. And I'm hoping, along with some of the things you're doing in mental health, some of the things that I know people are doing with physical health, spiritual health, all these things coming together helps us realize that putting it off for the day it happens and not only experiencing it that way, but spending huge sums of money to battle it, that we start looking at it more proactively of how we look into it and take the risk to take a look at it, have the resilience to deal with what we find and reinvent ourselves from that place.
Wow. That is so deep. And those words will remain with me, Tom. I believe I could, because that is what I remind myself every morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Tanuj Sharma, co-founder and CEO of Kana Health. Please tell us how we can find you.
Okay, absolutely. You can find us on our website, www.kanahealth.ai. And you can also find us in Google Play Store, Apple App Store. You can download our mobile app and start on your well-being journey.
Wonderful. Thank you for being on Opening Pathways today.
It is my pleasure to be with you today, Tom. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And to my viewers, this is Tom Lenoble. I'll see you next time.